Hi, everybody. You guys, when I did storytelling at the library, sometimes I would bring these right here, 3 apples. And here is the reason. So 3 apples came down from heaven. And the first one is for the person who asked for the story, who's in charge today. So that would be Miss Emma. It's your apple. And the second one would be for all of you who are listening to the story. And you can digitally divide this apple. So that belongs to you. And this apple is for the storyteller. So I'll share it with Nutmeg and my husband. All right. So the story we're going to read is from our collection of short stories. And it's called Friends Across the Hall. And here's Samantha. And she's looking through her peephole because someone is moving into her apartment. The apartment across the hall from mine had been empty for over 5 months. I wondered who would move into the apartment. Would it be a single person or a couple, like my old neighbors? I hoped my new neighbors would be as friendly as my old ones. Sometimes they would invite me over for dinner, and I would bring dessert. They said the cookies and the cakes that I made were the best because I loved to bake. Then my neighbors told me they were expecting a baby and needed to move to a bigger place. I was happy about their new baby, but I was sad because they were moving. I kept baking, of course. Once I tried to share some cupcakes with another neighbor down the hall, and he said, "Thank you, but I can't eat gluten." He told me that means he cannot eat things like bread, cookies, and cakes. I told him I was sorry. I would be sad if I could not eat the things that I made. One Saturday afternoon, when I was just about to make sugar cookies, I heard some noise in the hallway. I looked through the peephole in my door. There were a few people carrying boxes, lamps, and furniture into the apartment across the hall. Someone was finally moving in. Right away, I decided I would take my new neighbor a plate of cookies. I thought that would be a nice way to welcome him or her to the building. I went to my kitchen and pulled out the cookie mix. I just needed eggs and oil. This was going to be easy. I mixed everything together, scooped balls of dough into the cookie sheet, and put the sheet in the oven and set the timer for 12 minutes. I was so curious about my new neighbor. Was it a man or a woman, old or young? Would we become friends? I hope so. The timer rang and I pulled the cookies out of the oven, but they were way too hot to take across the hall. I had to wait another 15 minutes to let them cool. I'm not very good at waiting. Actually, I'm very bad at waiting. My grandma used to tell me, "Samantha, patience is a virtue." I still don't know what that means. Also, I still do not have any patience. I tried to find something to keep me busy. I kept going back to the peephole to watch the people carrying boxes. After a few minutes, I saw a thin woman with long hair beginning to hug other people and to thank them. And then she closed the door. Hooray! My new neighbor must be that lady with the long hair. She looks very friendly, I thought. After the cookies cooled, I put some on a plate. I decided to save the rest for my boyfriend, Colin. Colin loves to eat the things I make. And like I said, I love to bake. Lots of people say we're a good match. We like a lot of the same things, like watching Star Trek and volunteering at the cat shelter. Here's Samantha. Okay, there's her kitchen, and she's got the cookies and she's putting on the plate. Okay. Colin cannot have a cat in his apartment, so he likes to play with my cat, Irma, when he comes over. I got Irma from the cat shelter. If I could, I'd bring home more cats from the shelter. I have talked about it with my service coordinator, Ron. He says that I do not make enough money to pay for more cat food and litter. And also, I would need to clean the litter box a lot more if I had another cat. I do not like that chore at all. I tell Irma she is an only cat because she does not have a brother or sister cat. Irma does not laugh, but I do. And there's Irma. Pretty sweet cat. As I was putting plastic wrap on the plate of cookies for my new neighbor, I heard her door open and close. I ran over to the peephole and saw my new neighbor walking down the hall. Oh, shoot. Now I'd have to wait even longer to meet her. I looked at Irma. Now what are we going to do? I asked her. She didn't answer me. Instead, she walked over to me and rubbed against my leg. And when she does that, it means she wants me to pet her. I spent the next 40 minutes petting Irma, brushing Irma, washing the dishes I used to make cookies, and waiting to hear my new neighbor come back. Finally, I heard the door open and close. I walked across the hall with the cookies and knocked on the door. The woman with the long hair answered the door. Hello, she said. Hi, I'm your neighbor across the hall, I said. It's nice to meet you. I'm Mel. It's short for Melinda. Please come in, she said. Well, I'm Sam, and that's short for Samantha, I said. I made some cookies for you. I handed her the plate and looked around inside her apartment. There were boxes everywhere. And then I saw a plastic pet carrier on the floor, and the door was open. Oh, do you have a cat or dog? I asked. Yes, my cat Fran is somewhere in here. I just picked her up from my old apartment. And thank you so much for the cookies, Mel said. Mel had a big smile, and I liked her right away. I have a cat too, and her name is Irma. Maybe our cats can meet sometime, I suggested. And there they are. Oop, there's Mel, and there's Samantha. Sure, why not, Mel said. We talked for a few minutes about our cats, and then I asked Mel where she used to live. I told her that I had lived in my apartment for 6 years. I told her that I liked her cow print rug. Thank you, Mel said. And then she motioned to all the boxes. Well, I better start unpacking. Oh, okay, I said. I wasn't ready to go back to my apartment. I wanted to stay and talk more. But I remembered my dad telling me I should not wear out my welcome. This means you can stay somewhere so long that people want you to leave. I wanted Mel to be my friend, and I didn't want to wear out my welcome in her apartment. So I said, it was nice to meet you, Mel, and walked to the door. Thanks again for the cookies, Sam. That was so thoughtful of you. After I get unpacked, maybe you'd like to come over for dinner sometime? Sure, just let me know when, I said. I was so happy about my new neighbor. I called Colin when I got back to my apartment and told him all about Mel. Hey, that's great, sweetie, Colin said. Did you say you made cookies? Like I said, Colin likes to eat the things I bake. Yeah, I made cookies. What time are you coming over? I asked him. It was Saturday. Colin and I go on a date every Saturday night. Most of the time we hang out at my apartment and watch Star Trek together. Once a month, Colin's sister drives us to our favorite barbecue restaurant. Colin and I pay for our own dinners. My mom says Colin should pay for my dinner. I do not agree with her. Colin and I think it is fair if we pay for our own meals. So that is what we do. Colin and I like to make our own decisions. Over the next few months, my new neighbor Mel and I became friends, just as I had hoped. Every other week, she invited me over to her apartment for dinner. She made all kinds of meals, and I baked all kinds of desserts. We had roast beef, potatoes, chocolate cake, squash soup, salad, and sugar cookies, baked chicken, broccoli, and peanut butter pie. When Mel invited me over for brunch, I did not know what to bring. I had never been to a brunch before. What should I bring? I asked Mel. How about mixed berries? Mel suggested. But that's not a dessert, I said. And Mel laughed. Don't you like berries? Mel asked. Sure, berries are good, but they aren't dessert. I could add ice cream and whipped cream, though, and then we will have dessert, I explained to Mel. And Mel laughed again. Okay, berry sundaes it is. Sounds yummy. I really like Mel. She is kind to me, and I am kind to her. If she goes out of town, I check on Fran to make sure she has enough food and water. If I go out of town, she checks on Irma. I taught Mel how to make my lemon surprise cupcakes. I can't tell you, though, they're a surprise. Mel taught me how to do a dance called the electric slide. She said people always dance the electric slide at weddings. Mel loves to dance. Our cats are not friends, however. When I brought Irma over to meet Fran, they just ignored each other. A lot of cats at the shelter are like that. They like to be alone. I guess Irma doesn't mind being an only cat. A few weeks ago, Mel got a new boyfriend. His name is Christopher. He does not go by Chris. Mel and Christopher met on a dating website. Mel says they are opposites. Mel is short. Christopher is tall. Mel is talkative. Christopher is quiet. Mel has a messy apartment. Christopher has a very clean apartment. But they both like to go running, and that's what they did on their first date. Colin and I have never gone for a run together. We prefer to go on walks. One Saturday night, Colin and I went on a double date with Mel and Christopher. Mel and I wanted to see a funny movie. Christopher wanted to see a scary movie. I don't like scary movies. They give me scary dreams. So we all decided to go to a funny movie. Colin and Mel and I laughed a lot. I didn't hear Christopher laugh one time. After the movie, we went to dinner. And while we were eating, Mel began to talk about her cousin's wedding. Oh, it's going to be such a big wedding, she said. Even my aunt and uncle from England are flying into town. And she seemed so excited. The wedding is next Saturday, right? I asked. Yes. Are you sure you don't mind checking in on Fran? Mel asked. Mel said she and Christopher would be gone most of the day for her cousin's wedding. Oh, I'm happy to, I said. I think Fran's starting to like me. Of course she likes you, Colin said. Who wouldn't like you, Sam? And he held my hand and gave me a kiss on the cheek. I think you're right, Colin, Mel said. Fran is a lot more comfortable with you, Sam, than she is with most people. And I smiled at my boyfriend and my friend, and I felt thankful for both of them. Colin excused himself to use the restroom. I had more questions about Mel's cousin's wedding. How many bridesmaids are there going to be? What color are the dresses? I asked. 10 bridesmaids. Can you believe it? Their dresses are black with a pink bow around the waist. The flowers are mostly pink, but I think my cousins will have all white flowers. She decided to get a DJ instead of a band. At first, I wasn't sure that was the best choice, but Mel was still talking when Christopher cleared his throat. We looked at him. He was looking down at his drink. Did you want to say something? Mel asked. Well, not really, Christopher said, and he looked up from his drink. I'm just tired of talking about this wedding. That's all. Well, I was answering Sam's questions, Christopher. Plus, I am excited. I'm going to see a lot of people I haven't seen in a long time. Are you not excited to meet my family? Mel asked. Sure, I guess. I'll just be glad when this wedding is over, said Christopher. Well, it will be over in 1 week, Mel said, and she looked away. And I think her feelings were hurt. My feelings would be hurt if Colin had talked to me that way. Just then, Colin came back to the table and our food arrived. I could tell we were not going to talk about the wedding again. We ate our food and talked about the weather and Irma and Fran. When we got back to my apartment, Colin asked, why did everyone get so quiet at dinner? Well, I think Mel and Christopher are mad at each other. He said something mean when you were in the bathroom. He said he wanted to stop talking about our cousin's wedding. He said he wanted it to be over, I explained. But Mel is so excited, Colin said. I know, I think he hurt her feelings. Well, that's not good. He should be nice to his girlfriend, Colin said. I hugged him and told him that he was right. For the second time that night, I felt very grateful for my boyfriend, and I felt sorry for my friend. A few days later, I heard a knock on my door. When I opened it, Mel was standing there, and she was crying. I thought opposites attract, Mel said. Why? What's wrong? I asked. I did not like to see my friend crying, and it made me sad too. What's wrong? I asked again. I broke up with Christopher today. I told him that I did not like the way he talked to me at dinner last Saturday night. Do you remember? He said he wanted to stop talking about the wedding. I nodded my head. Yes, I thought it was mean, I said. It was mean, Mel agreed. It was mean and rude and thoughtless. I've heard him talk to other people that way a couple of times, but I never thought he'd talk to me that way. Well, I'm sorry, Mel, I said. I wanted to be a good friend, so I just listened and let her talk. I always heard that opposites attract, and I thought it was good that Christopher and I were different in so many ways, but I was wrong. I want a boyfriend who is kind and doesn't care about my messy apartment. I want a boyfriend who wants to meet my family. Why would I take somebody like him to my cousin's wedding when he doesn't even want to hear about it? And Mel sniffed. I handed her a tissue and told her I was sorry. Thank you, she said. And then she said, I'm actually here to ask you, do you want to come to the wedding with me on Saturday? You want me to go with you to the wedding? I asked. It sounded like a lot of fun, but Mel and Christopher were invited, not Mel and Sam. Yes, it'd be great if you would come. Otherwise, there'd be an empty chair and a cold plate of food next to me, Mel said. I know you and Colin usually go on a date on Saturday, so I understand if you want to think about it. I was already walking over to pick up the phone. Let me call Colin, I said. Colin answered his phone, and I told him what happened. He agreed that I should go to the wedding with Mel. Okay, I'm in, I said to Mel as I hung up the phone. But do you think we might be able to bring an extra piece of wedding cake home for Colin? Sure. Thank you, Sam. I'm so glad you can come. And I was happy to see that my friend was excited again. Do you have something to wear? She asked. I have a purple dress that I wore to a dance last year. Let me show it to you. I wondered if my dress would be fancy enough. This sounded like a very fancy wedding. I pulled the dress out of my closet and showed it to Mel. Oh, it's very pretty, Sam. My dress is silver, so we will look very nice together. We're going to have a lot of fun. And then I remembered that I was supposed to check on Fran. And now, what about Irma? What should we do about Irma and Fran? I asked. Well, I'll ask a coworker to check on them if you're comfortable with that. I trust her. She's watched Fran for me before. Okay, that sounds good. I guess there's just one more thing. I got up and walked over to my radio. What is it? Mel asked. If I'm going to do the electric slide in front of all those people, I need another lesson. You got it, Mel said. Sam, you're the best wedding date ever. And there they are. Okay. So they're practicing the dance together. And that's the end of that story. I'm going to check us. And I've got one more surprise. This is a beautiful book. I don't think I've read it to you before. If I have read it, it's actually worth reading again. Okay. It's called The Winter Gift. Okay. And it shows there's a figure. It's a figure of an old man, and he's going into his barn. And it's a very snowy day. It's December 24th, and there'd been a terrible blizzard north of the little town. Everything was calm now and covered in white. Okay, and there's a village. Okay, looks like a little New Hampshire, Vermont village that a lot of us live in. When the old man woke that morning, his bones ached more than usual, which probably meant more snow was on its way. He headed outside to chop the firewood. And there he is getting up for the day. Okay. To find his boots. The old man lived on a small farm nestled in the woods at the edge of town. As he walked through the snow, he saw cardinals darting in and out of the trees, chickadees sitting on the woodpile, and deer tracks everywhere. The snow glistened all around him. As the old man worked, he began to daydream of the Christmases that had come before. And there he is by his woodpile, and there's the little birds. Okay, so he's got some wood stacked up next to the barn. Every year on this very day, the day before Christmas, the old man and his wife went into the woods to find a perfect Christmas tree. This usually took a while, but eventually they would find a tree that they were sure was the prettiest one ever. And then they would bring the tree back to the house and begin decorating it. And there they are, walking in the snow to the woods. The old man would put the lights on while his wife made hot tea and sandwiches, and then together they would hang the ornaments. Finally, when the tree was just right, his wife would take out a wooden box that had a beautiful star. The star is the most important part of the tree, she would always say. It's a symbol of hope, and no matter how bad things are, you should always have hope. And here's the box, and there's the star, and there's the tree. And it's putting the star on the very top. But the old man didn't have hope anymore. He had lost his wife in the spring, and he was all alone. This year, there would be no Christmas tree and no Christmas star. The old man finished stacking the wood and went inside to fix his dinner. He's going back to the house. Now, not very far away from the old man's house, a mare wandered through the woods. During the blizzard, she had become separated from a herd of wild horses. The swirling snow and blowing wind were so strong, she had fallen behind and she had gotten lost. And she's all by herself, like the old man. After the storm was over, she wandered through the woods, trying to find her herd. She had never been alone before and was very frightened, but all she could do was to keep walking. Now, as the day ended and it grew dark, the new snow started to fall, and in the distance, the mare could hear the wolves howling. She needed to find a safe place for the night. The wind whistled and huge snowflakes swirled around her. She was growing so tired and so cold as she struggled through the deep snow, and the sound of howling seemed closer. And there she is. She's very lost and very tired. And there's a wolf howling in the snow. Exhausted, the mare could not go any further. She came to a clearing in the woods and collapsed into the snow, letting out a small nicker. And there she is, under the thicket. And there, she's not far from the man's house. There's a light in his window. From his kitchen, the old man thought that he heard something outside. He put on his coat and boots, grabbed a lantern, and headed out the door. Okay. He walked behind the barn near the woods, but he didn't see anything, for he was about to turn back almost. He saw the shape in the snow, and he heard a soft whinny. You can just barely see the mare lying there. And there he is. He's got a lantern. And he did find her. Using his scarf as a rope, the old man gently coaxed the mare to her feet, and then he led her into the barn. The barn had not been used in years, but it was still in good shape and would keep her warm and safe. And there they are. The old man ran to his house and brought back blankets and carrots for the mare. He gave her water and dried her off. He made her as comfortable as he could. The barn felt warm and cozy, and soon the old man drifted off to sleep. It was morning when he finally woke, and for a minute he forgot where he was. And then he remembered and looked over to the mare. And snuggled against her side was a newborn foal. The foal, struggled to its feet and looked up at the old man, and he couldn't believe his eyes. So you can see the little baby. Yeah. To the mom. There, in the center of the little foal's forehead, was a perfect white star. The mare gently nuzzled her foal, and the old man smiled and realized he had been given a special gift. And for the first time in a long while, he looked forward to tomorrow. Look what is in the middle of her forehead. It's a perfect star, just like the one that they put on their Christmas tree. And the very last picture, it has no words in it, but it just shows you the springtime. And the old man has built a fence for the mom and her baby. And I suspect that he's going to keep them to be part of his family for always and always. And those are the ends of our stories. So we can all get back together again.